So the next session is titled, as I said, titled as Cheetahs, the last and the latest. And we are extremely happy to have Dr. Divyabhanusinh Chavda with us, and he will be in conversation with Ravi Singh ji and Abhilash Khandekar ji. So please clear the passage, and I would request not to go away. Yes. As I said, this session is titled as Cheetahs, the last and the latest. We are grateful to have Dr. Divyabhanusinh Chavda ji with us, and he will be in conversation with Ravi Singh ji and Abhilash Khandekar ji. I would request them to please come to the dais. I would request everyone to please settle down. मैं चाहूँगा जो भी डिस्कशंस हो कृपया आप प्लीज़ वो डिस्कशंस बाहर करें ताकि जो लोग यहाँ बैठे हैं उनको सुविधा मिल सके. Everyone please be seated. We are grateful to have Dr. Divyabhanusinh Chavda ji with us as the author for this session, along with Ravi Singh ji and Abhilash Khandekar ji. I would request everyone to please clear the passage. And about this session, let me brief you about the wonderful author. We're delighted to have him with us today. One and only Dr. Divyabhanusinh Chavda ji with us. मैं चाहूँगा तालियों से हम उनका स्वागत करें, and I would request him to please take his seat on the dais. Dr. Chavda ji is a renowned wildlife expert, nature conservationist, researcher and author. By birth, he is the scion of the former princely state of Mansa and was by profession the corporate administrator in the Tata Administrative Services. He is widely recognized for his pioneering research on the history of the Asiatic cheetah and Asiatic lion. His book, titled as The End of a Trail, The Cheetah in India, it was first published in 1995, if I'm not wrong, and which has since run into multiple editions and is the only book on cheetah in India. I think that deserves an applause. His work on Asiatic cheetah in India had earned him a rare doctorate of literature. Yes, there you go. This is the book, The End of a Trail. Yes, and it earned him a rare doctorate of literature in 1998 from the University of Pune. मैं उनसे निवेदन करना चाहूँगा कि प्लीज़ भाई बड़े ही सम्मान के साथ आदर के साथ वो अपनी जगह अपना स्थान ग्रहण करें. About the discussions, we are glad to have Mr. Ravi Singh ji with us. मैं चाहूँगा उनके लिए भी तालियां होनी चाहिए प्लीज़. Mr. Ravi Singh ji is the Secretary General and Chief Executive Officer of World Wildlife Fund for Nature India. World Wildlife Fund for Nature India. His abiding interest in the conservation of nature led to his association with several conservation organizations like WWF and Bombay Natural History Society. As head of WWF India, he contributes to conserve biodiversity, promote sustainability, and provide leadership to the organization. As the second discussion for the session, we are glad to have Abhilash Khandekar ji, who is a veteran multilingual journalist standing close to a rich 40 years of experience in print and electronic media. मैं चाहूँगा हम तालियों से उनका स्वागत करें एक और बार. And I would request the three gentlemen to please ignite the discussion. Yes, sir.
So those who were in this hall a little while ago, here is a paradigm shift from economy and development to conservation. So we are going to discuss in this session the story of India's cheetahs. Cheetahs have recently been introduced into Madhya Pradesh and in India, and those who are into this effort for the last several years, one of them is sitting on my right side. I welcome Divyabhanusinh Chavda ji, who will be presenting the story of India's cheetah, and Mr. Ravi Singh has been lending support through WWF to all the conservation efforts all these years. So welcome Mr. Ravi and welcome Dr. Chavda. So he will first present the story of India's cheetah through the slides and make comments, and after that we'll start discussion. So can I ask them to start the slideshow?
Yeah, please put the first slide. Okay, before I go any further, let me just thank the organizers for giving me this opportunity to come and talk, and I will try and make it less boring as possible. So do forgive me.
Cheetah won't be boring, sir.
Thank you.
ये सामने नहीं दिखेगा क्या इसमें?
All right, fine. So, okay, this then is is a painting. I'll come to this a little later. This then is a painting by a man called Basavan, who was one of the premier painters of Emperor Akbar. And the importance of it is, this is the earliest representation of Indian cheetahs in the wild anywhere. Okay, and this is the second half of the 16th century. All right. That's why this is important, and I'm showing this to you to start with. Very briefly, I'm going to take you through what was the interaction between cheetahs and human beings through history. I'm going to be very brief about it. I don't know how much time there is going to be for questions, but please feel free to ask me any question. Of course, Mr. Khandekar and Mr. Singh will be putting me through the ringer, I suppose. So next one, please. Next slide. Right. Now this is, I'm showing this picture to elicit the difference between a leopard and a cheetah. The one on top is the cheetah. And it's a painting by a man called Elvis. And this is about the middle of the 19th century this painting was done. The important thing about the cheetah is it's a cat. There are 41 species of cats. It's one of those. It's a cat. And unlike any other cat in the world, its claws are always partly exposed. They are not retractile. All cats' claws are retractile. These cheetahs' claws are not fully retractile, and they are open because unlike other cats, they need to run. And when they need to run to kill down their prey, they need to get a purchase on the ground to be able to hold the ground. Next one, please. Here is another one. This is from a book by Sterndale, which shows down below the cheetah, Echinonyx jubatus. Echinonyx means it has a dew claw with which it brings its prey down, and jubatus means it has a mane on the back. So that is the cheetah over there. Next one, please. This is the earliest photograph of an Indian cheetah ever taken in the wild, 1901, okay? 1901. And this is very important because it shows the animal in its natural habitat, and it was taken by a man called Charles Clay. Next slide, please. Here are African cheetahs, okay? So look at the similarity between African and Indian cheetahs. There is hardly any difference at all. And the only difference I have been able to find through my researches over 30 or 40 years on the subject is that most Indian cheetahs' tail tip is black, whereas most African cheetahs' tail tip is white. That besides, I have not been able to find any difference between African and Indian cheetahs. Genetically also they are very similar, and their separation into subspeciation has been the most recent amongst all cats. Next slide, please. Now here is what you call a painting, prehistoric painting of the Chalcolithic Neolithic period, which is about 2,500 to 2,300 years old. and it is at a place called Kharwai, not far from where you are sitting. But look at the drooping head, look at the withers, look at the arched back, look at the long tail, and look at the long, thin legs. It is a cheetah. So this area had a cheetah or cheetahs that far back, and now take it to the next slide and you will see the difference between the cheetah and the leopard. You see this? Heavier body, thicker legs, no drooping head. The withers are below the head, and of course they have drawn a long tail, but it should not be so long, comparatively speaking. The cheetah's tail it uses to navigate, it uses not navigate but to balance when it's navigating a prey. Now, next one please. This is a crayon painting done of a cheetah chasing a black buck, the most favored, the most favored prey of this animal. This was done by a great cheetah expert, probably the greatest that we had in India, man by the name of Dharmakumar Singh of Bhavnagar. Bhavnagar state used to hunt with cheetahs. They used to train cheetahs and hunt with them. Now, before we come to the next slide, I will like to give you very briefly a history of the cheetahs. You know, recently somebody wrote a book, which I thought was rather silly, that there were no cheetahs in India and they were all imported from abroad. This is ridiculous. Because if you listen to Strabo, the geographer of ancient world, around the birth of Christ, he was living in at the time of the birth of Christ, and he described geography, and he wrote that when an Indian king has a procession and anoints himself, buffles, leontes, and pardalis walk in a procession. Buffles is buffaloes, leontes is lions, pardalis are the cheetahs. Then you have Claudius Alienus, a man who lived in Rome 150 years later, about 160 AD. He wrote that when Indians bring to their kings four-horned oryxes and tame pantheras. Now, four-horned oryxes, we all know, is the totally endemic four-horned antelope found only in the Indian subcontinent, and the pantheras are obviously cheetahs. No self-respecting leopard could be brought to an Indian king in his darbar. Forget it. It will not happen. He'll eat the king. Right. That said, what happens to the cheetahs through history? Let me go to Amar Kosha. Those of you students, if you are students of Sanskrit or history, you will understand that he wrote the first dictionary of the Sanskrit language, and he identified panchanakhas, 5-clawed animals, panchanakhas. And he said it is Singha, Vyagra, Dvipi, Chitraka. Dvipi being the leopard, Singha everybody knows what it is, Vyagra everybody knows what it is, and Chitraka means the spotted one, the dappled one. Alright? Then I would come to the Manasolasa, which is a 12th century document of the king of Kalyani in the Deccan Plateau, Someshwara III. He is writing about the kind of things that took place at his court. And he writes that at my court, I tame cheetahs and I hunt with them. Chitraka se main Krishnasar ko marwata hu. Krishnasar is the black buck, as you would all know. And that is the history of the cheetah. And if you look at the Firoz Shah Tughlaq, and if you see his biography, his memoirs written by somebody, then you will find that it says that in his menagerie there were so many ewes, which is the Persian for cheetah, and so many caracal that you cannot count them. Emperor Akbar during his lifetime had 9,000 cheetahs collected in 49 years. And at any point, 1,000 at one point of time. This is recorded by Emperor Jahangir himself in his Tuzuki Jahangiri. And Emperor Jahangir was very proud of the fact that when my father tried to mate cheetahs, it did not happen, but in my time, in my rule, everything is so peaceful that a cheetah and a cheetah mated and 3 young ones were born. This is incidentally the first instance of a cheetah ever recorded breeding in captivity in the world, until 1956, when the zoo in Philadelphia successfully bred cheetahs in captivity. Can you go to the next slide? Here is a look at the painting down below. Cheetahs being taken to the field for hunting. And what is the bullock cart? It's not a bullock cart, it's an antelope cart. It is pulled by a pair of black buck. Cheetahs therefore could be trained to only hunt those black buck which it is shown ahead but not which is driving it. Next slide please. Mughals recognized three types of cheetahs. Cheetahs of the Deccan, cheetahs of Gujarat and what is now Rajasthan, and cheetahs of the mountains which is Afghanistan. And this painting is very interesting. It is by a man called Govardhan. This is also Jahangir period painting. And you can see that it shows cheetah with its entire prey base in India. Nilgai, cheetal, black buck, mountain goat. It's the most comprehensive statement of what a cheetah hunts. I have not come across anything like this either in writing or through a painting. Then I come to the next one, please. May I have the next slide? Here is a painting where Emperor Akbar has released his famous cheetah, whom he named Chitrangada. And this is at near the present location of the Jaipur airport at a place called Sanganer. All right? This black buck jumped across the stream 25 yards. Cheetahs don't jump, they run. They run very fast, they can run at 100 kilometers an hour, but they don't jump. But this cheetah did. And the emperor was so impressed with this cheetah that once he had taken the black buck, he raised the cheetah's rank to that of a nobleman and gave it a precious stone-studded collar and ordained that every time the cheetah took the field to hunt, a drum should be beaten in front of it.
Wow, kya baat.
This is Emperor Akbar. Next one, please. Now this cheetah, poor guy, he is the cheetah painted for Lord Wellesley. Lord Wellesley in 1800, and he is taken to the field. It's winter time, so he is being made to wear what they call a kabja. We all have a kabja. This is cheetah ka kabja, and his eyes are covered because the eyes are opened only to show a black animal which he will go and hunt. So this is one of the early British period renditions of a cheetah in India. Next one, please. Now, this is a very interesting one. This is a man called Lord Pigot. He was the commander-in-chief of Fort St. George in Madras, and he sent a cheetah to England in 1765 from here. And they tried to get the cheetah to hunt in the Windsor Great Park to show it to King George III. And the animal it was shown was the European red deer, which is a massive animal, and the cheetahs refused to hunt. And the famous artist, George Stubbs, painted this painting, and you can see that the red deer does not have the antlers of a red deer, but are very similar to that of a sambar. So I don't know where he got the idea of a sambar, but that's where it is. Next one, please. Here is one of the very few paintings. Earlier was a crayon. This is very few paintings, perhaps the only painting I know of, by a man called Harrington Bird of a cheetah chasing a black buck. Look at the tip of the tail, it is black. Next one, please. Here is a street scene from Alwar, where cheetahs and siagos, you can see the little animal with tufts of hair on its ears. This is a street scene from Alwar, and it is of the middle of the 19th century, second half of the 19th century. Next slide, please. Now this one is the Maharaja of Korea, who shot 3 cheetahs in 1947. These were, sorry?
The last one.
I'll come to the last one. This is, I say this is the second last one. So everyone says this is the last one. I don't say so because I have a slightly different opinion on this. After this, in the winter of 1961-62, again cheetahs were seen in the same area, Korwai, which is now in Chhattisgarh, which was part of Madhya Pradesh till then. And everyone says these are the last cheetahs shot in India. I say no. The last cheetah shot in Indian subcontinent was in 1997 in Balochistan. Cheetahs don't know Pakistan and India. They only know the habitat. Pakistan and India are for people like you and me. It's not for them. For them, it's the same habitat. So the last cheetah shot in Indian subcontinent or South Asian subcontinent is 1997. One cheetah was shot there, and one skin turned up for in a trade market in Islamabad the same year. Next one, please. Now this is for the birds really, who say that there are no cheetahs in India. Here's a method of being shown here of how to catch cheetahs in the wild. You can see the trap laid down, and cheetahs are actually snared in the trap, and once they are snared, then they are taken into custody, and then they are left with the women of the cheetahwalas, because they say, I don't say so, that women create most noise, and therefore cheetahs should get used to the idea of getting used to the human noises and so on. Next one, please. Now this one is from Ajaygarh, again not very far from here, again Madhya Pradesh. They wrote, the Maharaja of Ajaygarh had something called Saidnama written in Urdu, which was the way of trapping and training cheetahs, and this is one of the illustrations showing these two guys examining the cheetah and saying, hey, what's wrong with him? He's looking at his ears. So maybe there is some what you call infection in the ear. Then I come to the next slide, please. This is from Kolhapur, if you can believe it. Here is a tame cheetah which is being bathed, and that fellow is holding the kamar kach, okay? Kamar kach. This is called a kamar kach, and that is used for releasing the cheetah, catching him like that and releasing behind the black buck. But here it is kept here, and this cheetah is having his bath, rather enjoying it, I think. Next one, please. This is a killer. This is the Kolhapur thing with 11 cheetahs in their menagerie. 11 cheetahs at one point of time. And from 1918 onwards to 1950, Indian princes kept on importing cheetahs from Africa because there were not enough Indian cheetahs available from the wild, and they used to tame them to hunt with them. And therefore, here these cheetahs are all African cheetahs, not Indian cheetahs. But remember this, unlike today's VIP passengers who landed here on 17th September, these cheetahs went through 15 days minimum of choppy sea travel from Mombasa or Zanzibar without tranquilizers, without antibiotics, and when they fell ill, these African cheetahs were treated exactly like Indian cheetahs and were treated with Indian medicine. All right? So, and here is a great tradition. I'm sorry to say we in India have lost totally. Today we don't know anything about them. And yet these lexicons which I have read, they tell you what are the diseases of cheetahs and what are the treatments of those cheetahs. I tried to interest some of the Government of India forest officers in our traditional medicines, but no one was interested, so I left it. Next one, please. Now these are the last Asiatic cheetahs alive anywhere in the world. There are only 40 of them or less than 40 of them left. These are Iranian cheetahs from the Turan provinces of the central highlands, the central desert areas of Iran, and less than 40 of these cheetahs are left. And can you please go to the next slide? Look at this fine Asiatic cheetah, last of the Asiatic cheetahs. With all the mess that's going around in Iran, I don't know how long these 40 cheetahs are going to last. But the only silver lining to it is that there is one cheetah who has given birth to 3 cheetahs in captivity. So if they are doing some ex situ breeding and conservation in Iran, maybe you will have some cheetahs left. Next one, please. This is an African cheetah with a world record. Normally, a cheetah has not more than 4 cubs, but here you have 6. And this is a photograph by a friend of mine, Mr. Kothari. Kakubhai Kothari has taken this picture. Now here, next one, please. Everyone knows this. This is the entrance to Kuno. There are pictures of lions. Those lions have disappeared into a corner and cheetahs have taken over. Next one, please. This is my friend Laurie Marker, who first came to meet me in 1997 and broached the idea that how can we get cheetahs into this country. Of course, 1952 onwards, people have been talking of cheetahs. Ranjit Singh had put in 2 or 3 proposals to the Government of India to bring in cheetahs. None of them bore fruit. But this was here she is preparing cheetahs for what you call cheetahs for transport to India. Next one, please. This is the team which brought, this was a jumbo jet 747, specially designed to bring cheetahs, and the 8 cheetahs were brought by this team to Kuno Palpur on 17th of September. Next one, please. Now, this is lorry marker, and of course, you will know Jyotiraditya Scindia, and the gentleman he's talking to with the moustache is Dr. Jhala. He is the person who arguably knows more about cheetah ecology than anybody in India. Next one, please. This one is, of course, our Prime Minister releasing the first of 2 cheetahs in Kuno Palpur, and this is where the new story begins. And please go to the next one. And here is cheetah. No, what is it doing? It is marking its territory. It's absolutely at home. He got no problems. He's forgotten his whatever impalas and other gazelle, and he's happily hunting. As you will see in the next slide, you will see he is hunting Indian game. All right, this is hunting a cheetah. This is an African cheetah. But why not? They used to hunt black buck before, so why not the cheetah? And the last slide. This is the new home, the fort of Kuno, and you can see cheetah, which is their base. Now, with this, I will hold. If you, I suppose, a lot of people may want to have questions. You may have some questions on what I think about.
So
the
I
program.
and Ravi will only ask one question perhaps each, and we'll open the floor for this
Sure.
thing, because the
Either way,
presentation has been
whatever.
so fabulous. I also welcome Mr. J.S. Chauhan, the Chief Wildlife Warden, who is involved in the Kuno cheetah introduction since the beginning. So welcome, Dr. Chauhan. So you mentioned little bit about Iranian cheetah, Asian cheetah, African cheetah. For the audience interest, I would like you to differentiate between these 3-4 main species of cheetahs, if you could.
See,
Because they say even that you said 40, but some we heard that Iran में तो 12-15 ही चीते बचे हैं.
no, that was a false report. That only 12 cheetahs were identified according to the protocol of the Cheetah Conservation Society. That does not mean that there were no other cheetahs. They have been able to look at cheetahs through their footprints, and they say that there are between 30 and 40 cheetahs left. Now, when I say this, I am saying this before the present troubles in Iran started. What it is 3 months
No one really knows.
Yeah, what has happened in the last 3-4 months, I don't know. So, coming back to what is the difference?
So you have been referring to Indian cheetah, Asian cheetah,
Hang on a
African.
minute. Hang on a minute. Let me clarify this. At one point of time, 7 or 8 different species of cheetahs were recognized. Today, through genetic, printing, more and more people are feeling that there is no such thing as different cheetahs. If you look at, for one instance, the research done by Stephen O'Brien, who is the father of cat genetics, he says there is only one cheetah in the world. That is the reason being that there was a terrible bottleneck of the population at the last ice age, and that resulted in cheetahs coming out of a very small parental base. It's like saying there was only one man and woman and everybody came out of that. So there was very little genetic variation. However, there is a difference between Asiatic cheetahs. Asiatic cheetahs means there are only about 6 Asiatic cheetahs actually available from which you can take for DNA analysis from skins of trophies. We don't know about the Iranian cheetah yet because genetical studies has not yet been done on Iranian cheetah. I think Iranian and Indian cheetah is exactly the same. There is no difference because the cheetahs came from Iran into India 20,000 years or 15,000 years ago. The African cheetah and Indian cheetah are very similar to each other, and the only morphological difference that was seen by Indian cheetahwalas was, as I kept on saying, the tip of the tail, nothing else. There's another interesting thing. If you were to take a skin out of one cheetah and plant it into another cheetah, the rejection rate starts after almost 3 weeks. Whether if you, on the other hand, if you take a piece of skin out of one leopard and transplant into another leopard, on the 3rd day it starts rejecting. That speaks for itself that the difference between the two so-called subspecies is minimal, perhaps it doesn't exist.
Ravi?
I'd start by thanking Shri Raghav Chandra and Abhilash Khandekar for inviting me here. It's great to see all of you. Before I ask, I request Dr. Chavda to elaborate on a particular question. I'd like to talk about two issues on the present which are very important to us as a nation. Number one, this is an initiative which, if you look outside India, if you look what the other nations are seeing and absorbing, African nations, Southeast Asian nations, Europe, that two countries have come together on a South-South cooperation and have undertaken a conservation initiative which was not initiated from outside but from within. This is a huge thing. You know, this is not just ordinary diplomacy. It means that we are talking about our position in the world. I want you to think of that. The second point, that Dr. Chavda mentioned 41 cats in India. In the world. We have 15 to 16. We have the largest number of cats species in the world. So in that way, we are a true cat nation. But we now have 5 large cats. No other nation has that. Yeah, we have 5 large cats, the national animal, the tiger, the lion, the leopard, the snow leopard, the cheetah. And this is a matter of great pride. For the reason India leads the tradition of respect for life and the procreation of nature. And bringing species back into India and looking for their procreation and the conservation of their areas, their grasslands, is part of our culture and our tradition and religion. So it's much bigger than just a scientific argument as far as I'm concerned. I'm talking as a conservationist. I'm also a historian, of course not as renowned as Dr. Chavda, but we have to talk of the present. And here I come to Divya to ask you, in your forthcoming book, you're going to talk about various things. One of those things is going to be the distribution of the cheetah in India. And you have done, in your studies, it's an eye test for everyone, but I can share it, a map of the distribution of cheetahs in India, spotting where the location is there in written record, in administrative record of the respective state, in the princely state, in the government record, in hunting records, etc. And he's come across with this beautiful map of India and Pakistan.
सो मैप में जो चीज़ नहीं दिखाई दे रही होगी वो मैं आपको पढ़ के सुना सकता हूँ रवि सर। मध्य प्रदेश के संदर्भ में इंक्लूडिंग सरकारी पेपर है। 1850 में इंदौर में एक पेट चीता था, एक ब्लैक चीता भी वहाँ पर था। सरदारपुर गुजरात में, सरदारपुर मध्य प्रदेश में, दाहोद में गुजरात में, सेंट्रल इंडिया में 1860 में, और फिर सेंट्रल इंडिया में 1880 में। मेरे को बहुत आश्चर्य हुआ कि इंदौर में भी चीता थे। ऑफकोर्स दे वेर पेट चीतास, लेकिन मध्य प्रदेश में छिंदवाड़ा में भी चीता था, और सेंट्रल सीपीएन बरार में भी था, सरगुजा जो छत्तीसगढ़ मध्य प्रदेश में था, मेलघाट का फॉरेस्ट जो मध्य प्रदेश से लगा हुआ है, ग्वालियर स्टेट नाउ पार्ट ऑफ मध्य प्रदेश, सिवनी प्लेटो, और सेंट्रल इंडिया के कुछ दूसरे पार्ट, सरगुजा, कोरिया डिस्ट्रिक्ट छत्तीसगढ़, सीधी, कोरिया डिस्ट्रिक्ट छत्तीसगढ़ अगेन, नाउ छत्तीसगढ़, and parts of bordering Jabalpur and other areas. So that map is exactly showing, and this is the list that Chavda ji has published in his paper.
What I'd like Dr. Chavda to talk about, that these areas are not all grasslands.
Yeah. So they are
Very
I think this is an important point. I'd like you to.
Okay, fine. Thank you, Ravi. You brought out a very, very important point. Ravi has showed you the map. Unfortunately, stupid of me, I should have put it on this presentation. But right from the plains of Jammu to Tirunelveli and Tanjore in Tamil Nadu, from the western extremities of Gujarat to Palamau in Bihar, cheetahs were found. And cheetahs were not just found in grasslands alone. They were also found. If you see the list which has been referred to just now, a lot of cheetahs were found in glades within thick sal forests. And therefore I go back to the slide by Govardhan, where he has shown what is the cheetah base. Nilgai, Cheetal. Cheetal is not in the grasslands. Cheetal is in the thick jungle. And what about the mountain goat? The cheetahs were in mountains also in Afghanistan. So cheetahs were found everywhere. They went extinct because for thousands of years they were being taken out of the wild to hunt with. And when you take the female out, who will teach the young ones to hunt? It's the mother who teaches. And with them, the whole thing just died out. This is the unfortunate part.
So, with your permission, I would like to open the floor. But one question that I would like to, जब चीता मध्य प्रदेश में ला रहे थे कूनो पालपुर में और उसकी सब तैयारियां चल रही थी, तो बहुत सारी ऐसी बातें उठकर आई जो वाइल्ड लाइफ एंथुसियास्ट, वाइल्ड लाइफ एक्सपर्ट्स उनकी तरफ से भी आई कि चीता हमारे देश में सर्वाइव नहीं कर सकता है, और जिस जगह पर चीता लाया जा रहा है, जिसको तैयार किया गया था एशियाटिक लायन के लिए गिर से, तो चीता वहाँ नहीं रहेगा. तो कुछ लोग ऐसा कहते थे कि जो लोग टाइगर कंजर्वेशन में काफ़ी साल बिता चुके हैं, they were opposed to bringing cheetah into Kuno Palpur or in India or in Madhya Pradesh. Would you like to comment on that, sir?
Certainly, this is absolutely correct. The emphasis was totally different, and unfortunately we don't have the time. Otherwise, I would have liked to examine, to talk on in detail of what stupid nonsense was being talked about cheetahs by certain lobbies. They are all pretty well known. I don't have to name them. If there was the time, I would be quite happy to name and shame them. This is ridiculous. I mean, cheetahs are cheetahs. They will go anywhere and eat, and they are doing it very well. They are already eating sambar, female sambar. They are eating the cheetal. They are eating nilgai. What's their hassle in life? They don't have hassle. Hassle is with us because we don't think big, and we say it's not going to happen here. Why not? This was the area, for God's sake. This was the very area which had cheetahs. And as late as 1920s, the Shikarkhana in charge of Gwalior state made a statement to the public that there are 50 cheetahs in the territories of Gwalior state, which is Kuno Palpur. So what the hell are we talking about? This is ridiculous nonsense.
Sir, with your permission, I would like to open the floor
Yes,
for the
please.
audiences to ask questions. Yes, first question.
Please raise hand.
So, yeah, this side, sir.
Yeah.
I'm Rahul. So, from your extensive reading of history on the cheetah in the subcontinent, now that the cheetahs are here from Africa and there are 12 more coming very soon, what are the one or two things that we need to make sure don't happen to make this program a success? Because there's a lot riding on it.
Okay, the two or three things are very important. Firstly, 50 years ago, the Prime Minister Indira Gandhi started Project Tiger, okay? Today you have less than 4,000 tigers in the country, 3,000 to 4,000 tigers. There is a big, range in which the exact number would be. The program to protect Asiatic lions started in 1879. It went through the administrations of 3 Nawabs of Junagadh, 3 state governments of Saurashtra, Gujarat and Bombay, 1 central government. Today you have about 700 lions in Gujarat knocking around in 30,000 square kilometers of an area. In 1952, the Chief Minister of Assam wrote to Jawaharlal Nehru, the Prime Minister, that the rhino is practically extinct in Assam. Today there are 4,000 rhinos in India. So, first and foremost, this is long haul. You are not going to get results now. What has happened is a very small, I repeat, very small step of what lies ahead. What's going to be the future? There will be hiccups. Will cheetahs die? Of course they will die. Some naturally, some unnaturally. Will it be a success? I hope so. And I hope so because the Prime Minister himself has released the first cheetahs, and I would therefore assume that the bureaucracy, and particularly the forest bureaucracy, will circle the wagons and make sure that the thing is a success. But there are some very troubling signs, and let me go on record and say them. I don't care who's listening and who's not listening. I'm told the one person who knows more about cheetahs in India than anyone else, he is no longer a member of the Cheetah Task Force. I would like to ask why. The other day I read that cheetah tourism is going to start next month. Cheetahs were not brought here for tourism, for Christ's sake. What is this nonsense? Cheetahs were brought here to make it into a flagship species, which would actually take root in India, and once having taken root, it will be the starting point for protection of scrublands and grasslands all over India, not just Kuno or Nauradehi or Mukundra or
Gandhi Sagar.
Ghasidas or whatever. These are beginnings. We are forgetting all this and we are starting tourism. I mean, I don't know. Look, I don't know how many of you know, I spent 30 years of my life in tourism, okay? I worked for the Tata group of companies, and I ran particularly hotels all over India, all over North India. And I'm saying this. I don't know whether that answers your question.
So, sir, there is a mention in this action plan of Government of India that at least 10 years would be required to monitor these cheetahs which have been released into Kuno, and subsequently more cheetahs will also come. So, is that the case?
It is 150 years for you to get 700 lions, 50 years to get 3,000 tigers, 70 years to get 4,000 rhinos. So 10 years is nothing.
Okay.
Okay, next question,
So,
please.
hello, sir. Akansha this side. So my question is, if we are bringing cheetahs from Nabia country, so there is definitely ecological difference in the area also, in from their home country and where we are bringing them. So do you think the facilities or infrastructure which we are giving in Kuno to them are apt? What do you think of this?
Okay, let me answer that. Before we started this program, I was involved in this program right from the beginning. I was the member of the Cheetah Task Force, which started this in 2010, and it was in fact my book which convinced Jairam Ramesh to approve the Cheetah reintroduction program. So I've been there. Of course, I've been totally ignored recently, but that's a different issue. That's how the cheetah business started in this country. And of course, Ranjit Singh was more than anyone else. He's the one person responsible for getting the cheetahs into India. That said, the person who is our technical advisor was Laurie Marker. Laurie Marker is from Namibia. She is the one who's running cheetah rehabilitation centers. What that woman does not know about cheetahs is not worth knowing. She is the one who has given us total advice, along with other people who have made the action plan for Kuno. Now, here is the action plan. It's for everyone to see. It runs into, God knows, a couple of 100 pages. Now, the question is, are we following that action plan or not? I don't know. Frankly, I don't know. I have not been to Kuno after the cheetahs have come. So I have no idea whether it's being followed or not being followed. If it's being followed, it stands a good chance of getting into it. But if you are going to take hordes of tourists, the poor cheetahs are going to run away. That's not going to work. You go to any national park or sanctuary, and if there is a tiger hanging around, you will see 100 cars there. I mean, is that tourism? Can these 8 cheetahs and the 12 more that are coming at the end of this month from South Africa, can they withstand this? The answer is obviously no.
Thank
I
you,
don't
sir.
know whether that answers. Look, the issue is very simple. The cheetahs are very adaptable creatures. They will adapt themselves. They've already adapted themselves to the local condition. Now, in order for them to have a long-term survival plan, that's a different ball game. For that, you need to follow the plan.
We are running highly short on time. We
Just
have
a
3
minute.
questions on the way.
John, sir?
Yeah, sir.
Yeah, please keep questions and answers as precise as possible.
No questions, please. I mean, I just wanted to just add on to what you said. That I mean, so early, so quickly we can't start tourism business. This thing. This was a guarded statement by the Honorable CM, and यदि सब कुछ ठीक रहा तो हम start कर सकते हैं. And that doesn't mean कि हम अगले महीने शुरू कर रहे हैं यहाँ कहीं. But I'll assure you and everyone here that we are going by the action plan. And the gentleman, Dr. Jhala, I wish that he should be there in the action plan. But there is no meeting without him. So I basically I can't say on behalf of the Government of India, but yeah, for us he is one gentleman. He's the scientific face here in India. So we are going by the action plan and whatever it needs to.
So
and-
last
and I
question.
assure you, yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Last question.
Last question, please.
The panelists mentioned the black cheetah. So I was slightly intrigued by the black cheetah because we couldn't hear more about it.
Yeah, okay, fine. That was a mistake. That was my mistake. And I corrected that mistake in the next issue of the Journal of Bombay Natural History Society. The mistake was made because it was that black cheetah reference was taken from a book which talked of cheetahs before that and after that. This was in all probability a black leopard. There is only one white cheetah in India, which was presented by Raja Bir Singh Dev of Orcha to Emperor Jahangir in 1608. That's the only aberrant form of cheetah known in India. Abroad, there have been spotless cheetahs and there have also been king cheetahs. These variations are not known in India till date.
Which means that there is no black cheetah.
There is no black cheetah.
Okay.
I'm
Next
sorry,
question.
it was my mistake. Thank you very much for pointing it out.
Okay, next question. Young man there.
Hello, sir. So
you
talked
stand
about
up and identify yourself and ask quick question.
Sir, I'm Sudhir. So you talked about the genetic differences. There are not much is known about the genetic differences between Asiatic and African cheetah species. So I think the more intuitive choice for reintroducing something from outside would be Asiatic cheetah from Iran rather than this. I just want to ask whether it was considered or not.
Yes, it was considered. It was not considered now, by the way, because there are less than 40 cheetahs left. The Iranians will not give you cheetahs. It was considered in the 1970s, and the idea was that we give to Iran the lion which has become extinct there from 1942 onwards. And by the way, just for your information, the Indian lion is called Panthera leo persica, Persian lion. And the idea was to give them Asiatic lions and bring cheetahs, Asiatic cheetahs into India. At that time in Iran, there were about 400 cheetahs. All right? This was started by Ranjit Singh when he was in the government of India. But what happened was that soon after this proposal was made by Ranjit Singh, emergency was declared here, and then 1977 Indira Gandhi was thrown out, and in 1979 the Shah of Iran himself was thrown out. So nothing came of it, but there was such a proposal.
Incidentally, for the audience knowledge, though some of them may be knowing, but Mr. Ranjit Singh is a towering wildlife figure in the country. He is a former IAS officer of 1961 batch from Madhya Pradesh, and most of the sanctuaries and national parks created in Madhya Pradesh are his handiwork. So give a big hand to Ranjit Singh Saab, who is not here. Over to Ravi. Ravi, you wanted to ask something?
Thank you, sir.
Or you make a comment?
Just one
And
point.
then last question then.
Yeah.
Just one point which will be interesting to, especially young people are here.
Yes, Rajiv ji.
You saw that photograph of the three cheetahs being shot in Korea. 1947 record of being possibly the last of the cheetahs in our country. However, reports of cheetahs continued to come occasionally through personal communications to people. In the 50s, in the 60s, and in the 80s. One of those communications came to Dr. Chavda through a connection in Ajaygarh. There was a relative of his through him. One report came to me personally from a place which is border of Uttar Pradesh and Bihar near Mirzapur, which is now a place called Kaimur. Territory is very similar to that of what you classic country of the cheetah. The point I'm trying to make is the species do not die in one go. It takes a very long time. But if your system is like it is today, if those reports came to us and we knew this was happening, today we would not let the cheetah go out into the night. Today we would make a difference. We'll try hard. We might make mistakes. Like the GIB, like the Great Indian Bustard, like the Florican. We will try and do something about it. And not that we sit back and say, okay, it's gone, so gone.
Absolutely.
So
Thank
last
you, Ravi.
question from my side. I would like,
Just
who is the
a
person?
young kid is there, young person rather.
Hi sir, my name is Abhilash Sharma. So my question is, when the government starts this tourism thing after 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, and whether it's going to start or not, but what are the threats to the cheetahs or something? like that?
I'm sorry, what does it?
What are the threats, death threats?
That can arise to cheetahs due to tourism.
Disturbance.
Yes.
Cheetahs are very secretive animals. They don't breed very easily. And even if they breed easily, the mortality rate of cubs is very, very high, almost 90% mortality rate. And if you have hordes of tourists knocking around in that area, they will be absolutely disturbed, and God knows what will be the outcome. Please remember, Africa is a huge country. Just one of their national parks is equal to maybe 8,000 square miles, and all Akuno, Palpurs and our national parks are a few hundred square kilometers, which is nothing, it's chicken feed. And my fear is that this tourism business, which has been voiced by the Chief Minister, though in passing, I hope it does not take wing, because if it does, the tourism lobby is going to get after you, I am told. Again, I am making this statement, I am not part of this thing, I have been kept out of it. Who's kept me out is not the NCU. The Director General of Tourism is a part of the Cheetah Task Force. What is he doing there?
He may be wanting to promote tourism without thinking of this. So the last question of the session, sir, there were many media reports in the run-up to the introduction of cheetahs into Kuno Palpur that a few leopards are roaming around in that area and they are threat to cheetahs, and a lot of wildlife officials who were trying to banish things, and also others were quite scared of the fact that leopards have entered the badas, or they were moving around outside the badas in the Kuno Palpur area.
Okay. See, look, cheetahs know...
So cheetah versus leopard.
Okay. Cheetahs know leopards very well from back home. Cheetahs know lions very well from back home. It's nothing new for them. What is new for them is the new environment. So, if the cheetahs settle down once and they take to the new environment, as they are indeed taking, as is being said, and the Chavan Sahab made the statement that you are following the action plan to the letter, I see no problem. Cheetahs will have to learn to live with leopards and lions if and when they come here.
Okay, thank you so much,
Thank you very much.
I would now like to invite Rima Ahuja ji on stage, the member of Society for
Thank you very much, sir, for a wonderful session. Please give a standing ovation to the cheetah expert of the country, please.
Divyabhanusinh Chavda ji.
Divyabhanusinh Chavda
Ravi ji. Yes. What a wonderful discussion we have had.
And our two discussants added to it so much.
A lot about cheetahs, a lot about wildlife, and a good range of questions, I must say. Even the experienced ones, even the younger ones were keen to ask questions.
Also
there it is, the mascot of the Bhopal Literature Art Festival. Thank you so much.
Probably more endangered than the cheetah. There are 7,000 cheetahs in the world.
Yes.
And I don't know how many hundred there are.
That is lesser florican. Yes. This picture was captured by Bhalu Monde ji, Padma Shri Bhalu Monde ji. Thank you so much, Divyabhanusinh ji, Ravi ji and Abhilash Khandekar ji and
So this is a photograph of lesser florican from Mr. Bhalu Monde, who is in this hall, and he has been trying to conserve this bird, and this is found in part of Madhya Pradesh, but highly endangered lesser florican.
Padma Shri Bhalu Monde ji, and मैं आपको बता दूं एक एग्जीबिशन भी आप साथ में देख सकते हैं. इट इज अ कलेक्शन ऑफ पिक्चर्स बाय भालू मोंड जी. सो प्लीज अगर आपने नहीं देखा है वो एग्जीबिशन देखिएगा, बहुत बेहतरीन एहसास रहेगा. एंड